The term organized crime refers to any centralized enterprise that has been established for the purpose of engaging in unlawful activities. Even though law enforcement has brought many of these criminals to justice, several groups continue to thrive. So, today we're going to take a look at some facts about organized crime around the world. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, leave a comment and let us know what other crime-related topics you would like to hear about next. Okay, time to round up the usual suspects. Just like any other team sport, communication is key to an organized crime group's success. But unlike most sports teams, unless you're the Houston Astros, criminals have to hide their communications from law enforcement. And since public information networks can be monitored by governments, the Zetas drug cartel began grabbing Mexican engineers to build and maintain their own radio network. It is believed that by 2015, the Zetas and other similar gangs kidnapped approximately 40 skilled technicians, engineers, and professionals. Evidence found has proven these people were creating private communication networks for the cartels. In fact, in 2011, the Zetas radio communication network comprised 167 antennas and 155 relay stations. These linked approximately 1,300 phones, 1,450 radios, and 1,350 Nextel devices, controlled by 70 computers. Authorities are constantly destroying the telecommunication facilities that make it all run, but more always pop up to replace them. Like the most high-stakes game of whack-a-mole ever. Well, unless you're the mole. Then every game is pretty high stakes. What do the iconic singer Frank Sinatra and the Kennedy family have in common? If you guessed they were both as mobbed up as Mo Green, then you win the prize. According to Sinatra's daughter, Tina, her father was the liaison between the Kennedy family and the Chicago Mafia when the Kennedys needed assistance getting union support for the 1960 presidential election. Sinatra's daughter stated that Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., patriarch of the dynasty, wanted the Mafia's help delivering the union vote. So he asked Frank to request the mob's assistance, since he knew Sinatra had access to Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana. Old Blue Eyes agreed and convinced Giancana to help. Yet shortly after the Kennedys won the election, the Kennedy administration began cracking down on the Mafia, enraging Giancana. Since Frank was the only one who asked for the favor, it was on him. Luckily, to repay his debt, he just had to play a week-long run of shows at Giancana's club. Why don't more places take payment in the form of jazz crooning? The United States of America has tens of millions of substance users, comprising the world's biggest drug market. In 2013, approximately 10% of the U.S. population over the age of 12 could be classified as a recent drug user. So if you're part of that 10%, take a bow, then order some Taco Bell? With figures like these, it's unsurprising that selling drugs in America has made the Mexican cartels enough money to build a skyscraper out of gold that reaches to the moon. Okay, that may be a slight exaggeration, but according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Mexican cartels earn between $19 and $29 billion each year from American sales alone. And how much could a golden moon skyscraper really be? $9 billion? It is believed that the Yakuza, the name given to organized crime syndicates in Japan, was founded in the 17th century, and that at present they have approximately 30,000 members scattered across the world. We did a whole episode on this shadowy entity if you want to check it out. Go ahead, we'll wait. How does an organization as allegedly large as the Yakuza claim hide its dealings? Well, it doesn't. The Yakuza's dealings are well known, including things like extortion, protection rackets, gambling, trafficking, construction, and real estate. Because apparently even the Yakuza knows you gotta diversify your investments. Like other crime groups, the Yakuza operate both legitimate and illegitimate businesses. But unlike most other crime groups, some Yakuza are based in office buildings, use their own corporate logos, and provide pension plans to their members. Some of them even have newsletters. These gangs are regulated by Japanese law, but surprisingly, they're not banned, which is a testament to their influence. Tony Soprano could never have a mailing list. The Aryan Brotherhood is largely considered to be the most violent white supremacist gang in the US, so you probably don't want to invite them over to watch the game. The group started out as a gang in federal prisons, then quickly became an influential player in organized crime. In fact, the Aryan Brotherhood now has a strong enough network on the outside to be considered an organized crime group themselves. These guys have a fearsome reputation for good reason. They are reportedly responsible for 18 to 25% of all homicides committed in the American federal prison system. Additionally, they're responsible for a string of criminal activities and the slayings of influential people outside the prison walls. Like an acoustic guitar at a party, the Aryan Brotherhood should be avoided at all costs. Omid Tavili is believed to be an Iranian-Canadian kingpin of an organized crime group that operates in Canada. The group has been connected to multiple international crime organizations, and Tavili was listed as one of the world's 10 most wanted fugitives after he escaped prison in 2007. According to news reports, Tavili sprung himself from the joint after bribing a guard to help him escape in a janitor's uniform. The disguise allowed him to simply walk out of the front door of the high-security prison, which is way easier than the crawling through a tunnel of poop technique Andy Dufresne used to get out of Shawshank. For his crime of helping Tavili fly the coop, the guard was sentenced to 3 years and 3 months in jail. Tavili was sentenced to 11 years in prison in absentia and is a still wanted fugitive, which has probably added some numbers to his sentence. Where's Unsolved Mysteries when you need it? During the 1990s, Vladimir Barshukov led the Tambov Gang, the most feared, ruthless, and politically connected crime syndicate in St. Petersburg. During this time, Barshukov was often referred to as the Knight Governor of St. Petersburg, which, to be blunt, is a really impressive nickname. So how did he get such an awesome alias? Besides running a feared crime organization, Barshukov was the point person for many politicians, a series of interconnected relationships that began when he started doing contract work with the St. Petersburg government to seem like a legitimate businessman. The group is rumored to include Vladimir Putin, so that should give you an idea of how powerful this dude was. Barshukov's reign of terror ended in the early 2000s, and he was sentenced to 14 years in prison in 2009. The Triads, a Chinese organized crime unit, trace their origins back to a 17th century movement to overthrow the Qing dynasty and restore Ming rule in China. But in 1949, when the Communist Party took over, many Triad families had to flee to other parts of the world, including North America, Europe, Australia, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. They were able to build up their criminal influence in these regions despite losing power in their home country, which is basically just the plot of The Godfather Part 2, but with less Diane Keaton. Today, the Triads participate in loan sharking, drug trafficking, credit card fraud, CD pirating, prostitution, gun running, and, just to keep things fun, minibus concession stands. Don't knock them until you've tried their churros. The Eurasian criminal group, the Shulaya Enterprise, isn't as large as the Triads or the Yakuza, but they have had their fingers in a whole lot of sinister pies. Even so, it's still hard to understand exactly why they decided to steal 10,000 pounds of chocolate from some cargo ships. Maybe they were expecting a lot of trick-or-treaters that year. But the presumably historic chocolate theft wasn't the only bit of criminal activity the Shulaya Enterprise were charged with in 2017. Their leader, Russian Razden Shulaya, was also arrested on charges of fraud, extortion, and robbery, which sounds way tougher than the whole chocolate thing. He's like Willy Wonka with a switchblade. According to authorities, the Shulaya Enterprise was also under investigation for plans to bribe law enforcement, the running of illicit poker businesses, the sales and transportation of untaxed cigarettes, and a conspiracy to steal 500 tons of candy corn. Okay, we may have made that last one up. But if 5 tons of chocolate is on the table, no kernel of candy corn is safe. All's fair in love and war, including working alongside convicted mobsters. That typically just applies to the war part of the saying, but mobsters need love too. To prevent enemy sabotage during World War II, the American government enlisted the help of the mob, who agreed to assist only if Charles Luciano, otherwise known as Lucky Luciano, was involved. Lucky was such a badass that even after being imprisoned for 6 years, he still had absolute power over the New York docks. And the government just so happened to need access to those docks to obtain intelligence for the war, as they were worried Italian and German agents might use them as an entry point to slip into the U.S. undetected. Luciano wasn't really big on helping the feds, but his freedom was on the line. So he ordered his informants to work alongside the government and act as lookouts, reporting all suspicious activity they witnessed. This tenuous relationship even had a dope official name, Operation Underworld. At the end of the war, Luciano filed a petition for executive clemency, which was granted because of his assistance. Then in 1946, he was pardoned and deported to Italy, which must have been an unbearable punishment for an Italian mob boss. Even though notorious gangster Al Capone led a publicly extravagant lifestyle, he never once filed a federal income tax return. You'd think that's the kind of thing an experienced criminal would keep on the down low. But Capone decided to brag about it instead, claiming he had no taxable income because his money was acquired illegally. It was a pretty funny joke, until Kevin Costner and his untouchable dance crew showed up. You see, unfortunately for Capone, money you make illegally is still taxable. So the IRS had him under investigation, eventually indicting him on 20 counts of federal income tax evasion. On October 24, 1931, he was sentenced and fined $50,000, which is roughly around $800,000 in today's money. Additionally, he was ordered to pay back taxes of $215,000, which is now an estimated $3.5 million, which just goes to show you, if you feel like you're getting away with something, it's best to keep your mouth shut. So what do you think? Which of these stories surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.